Number 5 is pretty controversial, so stick around. But first, number 1, I don't shame them. There's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is something that you feel for what you've done. Shame is something you feel about who you are. Now, my boys can feel guilty for looking at something or having certain thoughts, but when they start feeling shame, it means that they're feeling something that they feel that they are. So when it comes to making sure that they don't feel ashamed of themselves, we talk about it openly. I try to define it in a way that helps them to understand that we can feel bad about what we've done, but we should never feel ashamed about who we are. All men struggle with this stuff to some degree or another, which leads us to number 2, solidarity. I'm their dad. There's always going to be a line between who they are, my sons, and who I am. There'll always be a place for them to respect me as their father. There are times where we can do things online, play video games, where I'm taking lessons from them. And other times where we can play board games or go for a walk and we can be all equals. But at the end of the day, I'm still their dad. Yet, when it comes to this struggle, we're all on the same level. All men struggle with this to some degree. And like point 1, all of us can feel guilty, but the battle is not to feel shame. So I build a solidarity with them and telling them that this is something that I also have struggled with, that I've trained myself to be better at this, to talk about this, to not allow this thing to grow in the dark, but to keep this thing in the light, that I struggle with things, that they can also feel that they can struggle with things as long as they don't allow it to take over their lives or to change them into feeling something like shame. The best thing that the enemy does when it comes to this kind of situation is make them feel like they're the only ones, that there is no solidarity, that there is no one else struggling like they struggle. But when the truth comes out that not only do their brothers struggle with this, not only does their dad struggle with this, not only do all other men struggle with this, it gives them that sense of freedom to know that they're not alone. Number 3, access to all their socials. The one thing we do in our house is to make sure that it's completely open, especially online. Everything is so dangerous online. So we have this one program that we use that helps us fight that battle. The program is called Covenant Eyes. It's a software app that attaches itself to not only their phones, but their desktops, tablets, whatever they may use, and it records all the things that are inappropriate. It keeps accountability of all the places they go and all the images that they look at. Now you can set this thing to whatever level you'd like when it comes to accountability. Now, to be honest with you, this is one of the controversial things I do. I keep it completely open. They have the option to look at anything, but the caveat is anything you look at, your mother and I will also see. Not only does it build trust that I have for them, but it shows them that when they're not going to be with us one day, they're going to have access to everything. And so they need to learn what it's like to know that they have access to it, but to not choose it anyways. The nice thing about Covenant Eyes is I get a weekly report on what they've been viewing and what they're looking at. This way, we can go over it together. And for the most part, they have wins. But for the weeks that they don't, we can work through that together. The last thing I do, once again, going back to rule number 1, is I don't let them feel shame about this, about who they are. And 2, show them that they're not alone in this. Number 4, I ask them often about this problem. I talk to them. Every week or 2, I ask them how are they doing with their thought lives? How are they doing with all their struggles? I ask them often how they're doing. And whatever answer they give me, I can't let it scare me. I can't let their words to me shock me. Whatever they're struggling with, I have to be the dad and to look at them with love and patience, confidence that they will get through this. But it's also my responsibility to seek them out. They're not going to come to me all the time with problems. So it's my job as their dad to seek them and to find out what their problems are. I ask them often. And the 5th reason, which is a little controversial, that when we're faced with images and when we're faced with scenes, we face it together. Example, I took my son to go see Oppenheimer. He loves everything to do with World War II, and he's so fascinated by the bomb that was dropped. So when this movie came out, we were both quite excited to go see it together. Little did we know that there would be not only 1, but 2 rather graphic sex scenes. Now in the theater, when those scenes came up, sure, we opened our eyes like dish plates, and then we slowly turned to each other and just looked at each other going, oh man, did this movie really need it? And the truth is, it didn't. So we just looked at each other, laughed a little, joked around until the scene was finally over. And then we continued watching the movie. The physical act of turning your head from something that is rather desirable is trained for them when they're older, when I'm not there to help them, when I'm not there to guide them. I can't block the world from them. They're gonna face it eventually. But if I can teach them how to do it properly, like averting your eyes, then when they're on their own, they can find victory. These are the 5 things that I do to help my sons with lust. Are there things that you would add to this list? Are there things that you would take away? Tell me what you think down below. And if you like what you see, like and subscribe.